You are now tuned in to the GNWY podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to another GNWY podcast. We have an amazing guy coming in today. If you could give a warm welcome to Rafael Lovato Jr. Everybody, yes. Yeah, man, we appreciate you coming through, man. You've been all over the world recently, yeah? Pretty much, yeah?
Well, I wouldn't say recently as far as 2020 goes.
Right. Yeah,
But yeah, no, for sure. I'm a pretty consistent and frequent traveler.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about what I do is just getting to see the world and make a lot of connections.
Right.
Learn and just build a lot of relationships with people all over. So
definitely.
I'm very fortunate for that. But this year I haven't been traveling too much, but that's been a good thing.
So for the people that don't know, that are just tuning in to learning about Rafael, give us a little breakdown. He jiu-jitsu, like, what do they call it? Like a sensei? What is it? Like what's
sensei
the highest?
Or professor.
Yeah.
It's just a way to refer to. Well, I guess professor's more like for black belt level.
Right.
And then once you've been a black belt, as long as I have, they start calling you sensei. So that's
long as I have.
That's just a way to make you feel like you're getting a little older.
Yeah. Right.
But no, I'm a lifetime martial artist.
Yeah.
Under my father, he's a lifetime martial artist as well. So I grew up into martial arts. First studying the Jeet Kune Do, JKD systems.
Yeah.
My dad was greatly inspired by Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
And so that's what I grew up in. And then right when I was around a teenager, he discovered Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay. And
he fell in love with Jiu-Jitsu, and then, of course, so did I. And that's really what I dedicated my life to. When I was a teenager, I just knew that was my love, that was my passion.
Yeah.
And I wanted to take that as far as I could.
Heck yeah.
So the first time I went to Brazil, I was just 16 years old.
What?
Competed in
That's crazy.
The World Championships there, trained there, and I just kind of kept that up. As a kid going into my 20s, I received my black belt when I was 21, and my dad received his black belt a year before I did.
Yeah.
And we were the first American father and son jiu-jitsu black belts.
Wow.
At the time, I was the youngest American to have ever received a black belt.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of went on to kind of be, I don't know, more or less kind of the face of non-Brazilians in jiu-jitsu for about a decade.
Yeah.
I was 13-time world medalist, 4-time world champion, and the first American to win a lot of different events, Brazilian nationals.
Yeah.
I won an absolute title. I grand slammed and a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And then in my 30s, I transitioned into mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
And last year, I became the Bellator World Champion.
Right. Yeah.
And am undefeated in MMA, 10-0.
That's wild, man. And then recently, you just got back from Dallas doing a competition as well, yeah?
Yes. Yeah. I just returned to jiu-jitsu. I hadn't competed in the gi. The gi is the uniform,
right,
is what we call it.
Yeah.
Without the gi, there's like grappling matches.
Yeah.
And I've been doing those kind of in between MMA fights.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to go back and forth between those because in MMA there's a lot of grappling, obviously.
Yeah.
But it had been a while since I had done a gi match, just because of all my focus on MMA.
Yeah.
But with everything that's been going on, I just went back into jiu-jitsu with my whole heart, and it's been really good for me to kind of keep me grounded and very therapeutic and meditative for me.
Definitely.
And I just made my return to gi competition. No spectators.
Yeah.
Because of everything, and but it went really well. And I submitted my opponent, and I'll actually be back in action on the 19th this month. So just staying busy.
I was watching the video, man, and even the commentaries that were watching the match, like they were going in about how smooth and everything you were handling yourself, and it's just like, I mean, you've been in it for a while, but it's like you've made this an art. You know what I'm saying? And so just watching you, and I've heard even Justin talk about how you go into a match or something like that. You say, he mentioned this one time about you going into it, talking like, I just want to make something beautiful out of this. And so like you changing your mindset, going into, becoming going from a professor to actually going into the ring. What's that mindset that you changed from just teaching to actually being in the ring?
Well, I have a very competitive spirit.
Yeah.
So that's something that I found out when I was much younger. And so I was a competitor or, fighter at heart first before I discovered my love for teaching.
Yeah.
But much of it is just all my upbringing. I mean, from the way my father raised me, as a martial artist, like going back to what you said before, like the artistic expression of it. Nowadays, there's a sport, and people start jiu-jitsu and they learn about the sport right away, and much of their training revolves around success in the sport, and they see it as a sport, as a game, more or less. As well as with MMA, now fighting it's a sport, and it's also a way to, you can become a celebrity. You can get famous in fighting, and there's this, I'm a fighter kind of a persona that a lot of people, that's what they resonate with. Yeah. For me, I always lean towards the side of a martial artist and seeing it as an art. And a martial artist to me is someone who dedicates themselves to learning and growing. So, I'm training year round, not just whenever there's a fight or an event or anything like that. And also a martial artist is someone who challenges himself. Yeah. And being that I'm not as young as I used to be, but I grew up wanting to challenge myself to help me become the best I could possibly be. Yeah. And so that came down to competing. Yeah. And traveling the world to seek out the best competition possible. Yeah. And after I secured or kind of hit a plateau in jiu-jitsu where there wasn't really much left for me to do, that's when I said, okay, what's the next challenge? And that's what led me to MMA. Yeah. And then a martial artist is also someone who teaches. Yeah. And shares and gives back the knowledge that they've gained. Yeah. And tries to help others. And being that, I've been side by side with my dad on this journey the whole way. We had a school. We've had a school here in Oklahoma City since I was 9 years old. So about 27 years. Wow. Almost over 27 years. We've had a martial arts school here in Oklahoma City. Yeah. And as I got older, becoming a teenager, and I started traveling, like I said, my father was very, very busy with the school, and he kind of invested in me to, allow me to travel because we didn't have too much money. Right. And I would gain as much knowledge as I possibly could and bring it home to him. Yeah. And like I said, everything was kind of on him. And so to help him out, I started teaching when I was 15. Wow. At the school, and just, share what I was learning with everybody, and just give a helping hand to my father, so he didn't have to do so much all on his own. So I've been teaching now. I'm about to turn 37, so almost over 20 years, almost 22 years, and that's been my life. Teaching always. At the same time, always learning. Yeah. Always seeking challenges. Definitely. Competing. It's just kind of what I do. That's awesome. And it all helps each other.
Definitely, man. And so, even watching you go from the MMA to jiu-jitsu and stuff, can you even share for people that probably don't even know, the styles, what the completely different, because you're talking about grappling with MMA and even, that's a form of wrestling and stuff like that. So, talking about even explaining what mindset you got to go into, the difference between an MMA fight to a jiu-jitsu fight.
So jiu-jitsu is ground fighting. Yeah. It is a martial art that primarily revolves around taking your opponent to the ground, controlling them through different positions, and ultimately achieving a submission.
It seems like a lot more smoother too, how you do that.
Yeah. It's very. They call it the gentle art. Yeah. You can be as brutal as you want to be. Right. Basically, if I take you down, and I'm controlling you, I can control you to hit you, or I could literally just hold you and not hit you at all. Yeah. And then, of course, the KO inside of jiu-jitsu is the submission hold.
Right.
And that could be some sort of joint lock, like an elbow, shoulder, knee, ankle, or a chokehold or a strangle.
And you can use the gi too against your opponent.
Traditional jiu-jitsu, you wear the uniform, the gi,
right,
the kimono, and then the grappling or submission wrestling, jiu-jitsu without the gi, it becomes a little bit more of a blend of wrestling and everything else. But very similar in the sense that you're trying to secure position and get the submission. That is without the uniform. Normally they wear like rash guards and shorts or whatever. And so that looks very much like wrestling. Even in the gi, it looks like wrestling. But the gi is far more technical because of all the handles. Right. The amount of options and directions and grips that you can do. It becomes just an exponential difference between gi and no gi. The gi is what I first fell in love with. That's what I did growing up as a kid, and that's like my primary passion. Now I love it all, but the gi is kind of like it's my first love.
Definitely.
I love it all, but that's the one that if I only had to do one for the rest of my life, it would be gi jiu-jitsu.
Definitely.
But because of my upbringing in the JKD systems, I grew up training several different martial arts, from striking arts, even weapon arts.
Wow.
And it was just, jiu-jitsu that I put all my energy into. But after I hit a certain point in jiu-jitsu where it wasn't really like inspiring me the same, it kind of was the same competitions, the same guys, year after year. That's when I knew, okay, it's time to go to MMA. And I always knew I wanted to do MMA at some point because that is the ultimate challenge, right? They lock you in a cage, you and another man, and it's basically do or die.
Right,
And I had never been in any sort of real life confrontation, like never been in a street fight, anything like that.
Right.
And so another element to it was just, wanting to discover how I reacted and how I performed, and what it felt like, and for me, it was very, very scary. Every fight, and I think most MMA fighters would tell you the same. A lot of times guys throw up, and there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of nerves. You're walking into the unknown. Literally anything can happen, and with the small gloves on, it doesn't take much, and some random shot on the back of your head, and you're out. And people get hurt, and it is what it is. But for me, there's a beauty inside of that, because I'm literally showing you my life's work. And as an artist, you get a chance to express yourself and more or less paint a masterpiece, in a fight. How you get from point A to point B, with your body, your style, your movements, is going to be your own fingerprint. No two fighters are the same.
Definitely.
And so I've always very much enjoyed that element to it. And I find a lot of peace inside the cage. I'm actually not. I want to say I'm not nervous, but I'm not. I'm almost emotionless. I'm just tapping into who I am, and you just let it go, trust your instincts, and believe in your training.
That's what's up.
And so, like I said, it's very, very much a peaceful thing for me. Jiu-jitsu, in fact, I have to kind of pump myself up a little more because it's not as aggressive and extreme. MMA, I kind of more just let go. Right. Just let go.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's wild. And recently you said you won the Bellator, and so you are currently the title holder.
Well, there's not another champion in that division right now.
My guy.
But because of some medical issues, I've sort of relinquished my title. And they were going to have a fight to determine the new champion
Yeah.
in May, but then
COVID.
everything hit, and so
Right. And that's
so
something
more or
else
less, I'm still the champ.
That's what's up, man. That's what I was wanting to get into next as well. And so for obviously people, I mean, you announced on Joe Rogan Experience that, like, you know, there's a medical issue, like you were saying. Do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah.
See what that looked like.
Yeah, I can just, you know, it's kind of a perfect time because it's actually the awareness month for this condition. That's why I have this red ribbon on right now.
Yeah.
So my title fight was in June of 2019, and you know, it was a big step up for me. I'd gone undefeated so far, and I was on a 5-fight win streak inside Bellator. Worked my way up the division. Every fight was someone tougher.
Yeah.
And I earned my title shot. But the champion at that time was kind of a legendary fighter who had been around a long time, and many considered to be one of the greats of my weight class, and even the weight class above. He's gone back and forth.
Wow.
And was a champion in the weight class above in another organization, and then was the current champion, obviously, of my division. And he was just dominating everyone. He hadn't lost in several years. Over 50 fights, only lost like 6.
Wow.
And it was going to be my 10th fight.
So
it was a big step up.
Yeah.
I was a big underdog. He is a European fighter. We were going to fight in London.
Right.
So it was kind of his backyard.
Yeah.
And all these things, you know, that were really just kind of making it a Rocky style fight.
Yeah.
Or at least, you know, the setup for it was as if it was a Rocky movie.
Yeah.
And then I'm in camp, and this was the first time I was required to get a brain exam by the commission to get approved to fight.
Yeah.
And so at the end of May, I go get. I'm sorry, it was early May.
Yeah.
It was about 6 weeks before the fight. The fight was June 22nd, I believe.
Okay.
Early May, right before I was getting ready to go to Brazil for my camp, I got my brain exam done to, you know, just check that off the list.
Yeah.
And I kind of, like, you know, it's a long story, but basically it was discovered that I have this condition. It's a disease in my brain. It's called cavernoma or cavernous angioma. Basically what it means is that my brain has developed these extra vessels that are carrying blood.
Wow.
And they tend to kind of group up almost like vines. And they can kind of wrap up and make these little collections in your brain. And these extra vessels, they have the tendency to bleed.
Wow.
And if they bleed, of course, brain bleeding you know, is not good, and it can lead to issues.
Yeah.
You know, but I had no idea. I had no headaches, you know, never anything serious, never had a concussion, never been knocked out.
Yeah.
But most likely I was born with it.
Wow.
And my condition, it was kind of in the middle. So basically I have several different locations of this cavernoma. And on the low end, you might only have one and never experience any problems.
Yeah.
On the extreme end, you have many, and they bleed.
Yeah.
And you can have problems.
Right.
And kids that are born with this disease, you know, of course, I'm right in the middle of fight camp, and I'm Googling to read up on it and everything, and I'm hearing these, you know, kind of just devastating stories, tragic stories of children that are 11, 12, 13 years old and have already had 5, 6, you know, brain surgeries.
Right.
To try to remove these collections. And, you know, that's because they had issues.
Wow.
Seizures, loss of vision. You can go into a coma. Paralysis on one side of your body.
Wow.
It all depends on where they're located and what kind of activity happens. So that's the extreme end where it's a problem right away, and it continues to be a problem, and you have to have numerous surgeries. So I kind of fall into the middle where I have several, but I never experienced any symptoms. I wasn't showing any symptoms, so I had no idea. And of course, that's the last thing I expected to get hit with in a fight camp. And you know, I talk about it quite a bit on the Joe Rogan show. I mean, that's all we talked about, basically. I went through the whole story. I just kind of got it off my chest. I carried that with me through the whole camp with only about 3 people knowing what I was going through. And those were my fiance and the two of my main coaches, the guys who are in my corner. I kept it from my family. Of course, I didn't tell any of my students. I didn't want to tell anybody. Because I didn't want anyone to know what I was going through, and I didn't want anyone to be worried about me. You know, because I was going to step in that cage if I could, and I didn't want my parents to be freaking out. You know, so it was a very, very difficult time trying to get through camp and just deal with this unknown and worry about my health and trying to stay confident, and I had a lot of work to do to try to get approved to fight. You know, and basically, long story short, I didn't get word that I was going to be good to fight until 2 weeks before the fight.
Wow.
So I went through the majority of camp not knowing if it was even going to happen, and so it was really, really trying time. I ended up getting injured as well in the camp. Which wasn't a surprise because I was just an emotional wreck, you know? And so I wasn't in a great state of mind to be training the way I was. But got approved, and it wasn't perfect. It was the toughest camp ever. As far as like, you know, when it was done, I wasn't like, oh yes, that was that was the best camp. You know, I'm ready. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, whoa, oh man, let's just hope for the best. You know?
Definitely.
But in the middle of it all, I really found a beautiful place mentally and spiritually. I had this incredible love and support from my brothers and my fiance. You know, we connected even deeper. Like, we grew stronger through what I went through, and that strength and that more deeper connection to purpose, and knowing why I was there, and knowing that I was literally ready to fight that fight like it could be the last one of my life. You know what I mean? It gave me the power and the strength that I needed, because the fight ended up being a war. You know, it was back and forth. I won the first 2 rounds. He won the second 2 rounds. And then it came down to the 5th round. And I dug deep and I won that last round. In fact, it was my best round of the fight.
That's crazy.
So, it was a lot. But like I said, it was meant to be. And I kind of just assumed, well, we got approved, so it shouldn't be a problem to get approved again. But then about 4 or 5 months later, the European Commission, they continued discussing my scans and talking about it and looking it over, because it was such a, like, first off, this condition is very rare. You know, it's something that, like, a lot of times you don't even know you have, right? And there's definitely not any fighters, like, or at least very many. Some doctors that I've seen said that they have seen some boxers with this, but I've never heard of another MMA fighter dealing with this condition. So it was just such a unique scenario, a unique case. And anyways, they kept studying it and talked it over with more doctors. And one doctor came up and said, who was kind of the head of that commission, said that, man, you know what, he really should not have been approved to fight. And we don't want to see him fighting here again. And so I got hit with
America and, like, the UK have, like, different rules and stuff like that.
Different commissions. And so I had already had my next fight scheduled at that time, and I had already begun training for this next fight to defend my belt. And I let Bellator know about what this doctor said, and I was like, man, Europe is saying that I shouldn't fight anymore. I'm a little worried how things are going to work out in California, which is where my next fight was going to be. And so we started the process to talk with California. I saw more doctors there. And long story short, the California Athletic Commission said no.
Wow.
And so 2 commissions saying no. They were like, well, we don't know what we're going to do. And I was like, I don't know what to do either.
Yeah.
I was pretty heartbroken.
Definitely.
To get that far and then, kind of not be able to enjoy the fruits of all of our labor. It's like my life's work. And once you're the champion, all these doors and opportunities open up and obviously you get paid better and more exposure for my team and all of our hard work. Yeah. So it was really hard to process. And no one knew what to do. And basically they were like, you could just keep seeing more doctors and we hope for the best. And I was like, man. And I said, you know what? I wonder if I can get on the Joe Rogan show. Yeah. And just because I still had students, all these people around me asking me, hey, when's the next fight? When's the next fight? I thought I see you're training for a fight. What's going on? What's going on? Yeah. And so actually through the help of Justin Wren, we connected with Joe. Joe was like, yeah, sure. Got me right in. Right. And I just let it all out. I didn't want the fight to get postponed again and again, and nobody know and think I'm not trying to defend my belt and do champion responsibilities. Right. And that's a good platform. I didn't want to just keep lying to people. I was lying to people close. I still hadn't even told my family. Wow. And so finally I just had to get it all out. Yeah. And so it was a really emotional episode. I had to hold back some tears. But it was very therapeutic for me, and I just got it out. And my goal was to just put some awareness out there. Yeah. Encourage people to get scans done if they can. Definitely. And hopefully connect with more doctors to get more information about this. And I did. And I was going to go see some of these doctors in March and April, but then I couldn't travel because of the COVID and everything. Right. But I came to find out that that June is Cavernoma Awareness Month. Yeah. Which is the month that I won the belt. Wow. Exactly a year ago. That's crazy. It's also the month of my birthday. Okay. You symbolize it with a red ribbon. Red. Right. Also being the same color as my logo. Right. Lovato. Yeah. And red is the champion color. Wow. The champion always wears red gloves. Yeah. And so when I discovered that, I like got super emotional. I started like tearing up a little bit, and I was like, man, there's something bigger here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm supposed to be, a voice for this. Yeah, an advocate. Yeah, definitely. And so just trying to help. So it's Cavernoma Awareness, and I've actually partnered up with the Angioma Alliance. Okay. To put that awareness out there, and they have a GoFundMe page. Okay. The link can be found through my Instagram bio. Yeah. And we're just going to try to raise money. The Angioma Alliance is one of the biggest research facilities for cavernoma, specializing in cavernoma in the U.S. Okay. So we could try to put that link in the bio for sure, man. And so even you bringing up your logo and everything, like you recently just opened up your own gym, yeah. And so a new location. New location. Yeah, yes. And it's top tier, like, and your grand opening, I seen like there was how many people showed up to that thing? That thing looked packed. Yeah, we had over 200 people on the mat. That's wild. But then there was, obviously more people. Yeah. Spectating on the side. Yeah. Like I said, my father, he started our school here in '93, so 27 years. I've been running the business now for about 11 years. Okay. And it was just, a dream of mine to have this amazing facility. Yeah. We have around 25 affiliate schools worldwide. Yeah. And this is the headquarters. Obviously, this is where all our history is here in Oklahoma City. Right. Like I just said, over 200 people were on the mat. Like that's what our potential was.
Yeah.
But we did not have a facility that could accommodate that ever.
Right.
You know, it's been a long, hard road to get to that point where, you know, we've established ourselves, made our mark, and we have so many students worldwide, and just outside of our own students, there's just a lot of supporters and people that love to travel here and love to learn from myself and my other black belts.
Yeah. And there was people like flying in from Canada, right?
Canada, and, even Europe, Spain.
That's wild.
Yeah.
For your grand
all
opening.
Over the country.
That's wild, man.
You know, probably like at least half a dozen different states.
So you overtook the Laser Quest that was there.
Yeah.
What's the square footage of that building?
It's 10,000 square feet.
It's crazy.
We have about 6,000 square feet of mat.
Yeah.
One that's 4,000 square feet, and then another room that has 2,000.
Right. And it's all zebra, everything. Yeah.
Zebra athletics, zebra mats.
Yeah.
And big high ceilings, like 25 foot tall ceiling.
Yeah.
In the main room, and like I said, it's just a dream to build something, have something here, right in the heart of the city.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful shopping center, great location.
Yeah.
And just help us reach more people here in our community, and then just accommodate our growing student base, as well as our potential to host these events and have 100, 200 people here on our mats here in Oklahoma City, you know, bringing people from all over the world here to Oklahoma. And we finally did it.
That's dope, man. I'm excited to even know you, man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's amazing that you grew up in this, like the Putnam City area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like you coming back to your own town and like building something like
I never
this
left.
Right. Yeah.
Never left.
Right. True. Yeah. And you like you're like a hometown hero pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Like that's amazing, bro.
Thank you. Trying to, like I said, just continue my father's dream and build a legacy here.
That's amazing. And so I don't know if you want to, talk about your book, that you're trying to put out. What's the direction that you're going with that? Is it like more about teaching, or is it more about just your life, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So during this time, the quarantine and getting locked up, you mentioned my grand opening. My grand opening was March 1st.
Yeah.
March 13th, Friday the 13th, we had to close.
That's
so
wild.
Less than 2 weeks later, we had to close. And I'm thinking like business is about to start booming.
Right. Yeah.
And I invested so much into that school.
Yeah.
And shutting the doors was pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
And so the first couple weeks I was a bit of a mess. Once again, just dealing with more emotion and like first it was like the Joe Rogan show was just January.
Yeah.
Now kind of having to step away from MMA.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what got me through that was focusing on my new school.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yes, new school. And then I was like, oh, that's gone too. I had to lock the doors, close it up. And so just kind of hardship after hardship. And I'm like, and I felt a little stuck for the first couple weeks. And then I finally got my head to a space where I was just like, all right, what is the opportunity that lies in the middle of this, and what can I do now, and so once again, just reflecting and trying to sort of meditate and navigate through it all. Yeah. I said, man, you know what? I've always thought about doing a book. This is the time. Yeah. It was right now.
Yeah.
I can't travel. I've got nothing else to do.
Right,
more or less.
Yeah.
And I had just gone through so much, and so once again, I felt like it was a bit of a therapy for me.
Definitely.
To just start to put it out and just write. And so I talked with some colleagues and got some advice on which route to go, and ended up getting hooked up with this company. Spoke to their owner, this publishing company. And we really hit it off, and I said, you know what, I don't need to look anymore. Like, I don't need to talk to anybody else. I feel like this is meant to be. I just want to get started. Yeah. And so kicked it off and got into it. And, there's still a lot more work to be done, but I have no doubt it'll be complete by the end of this year.
Definitely.
I'm already 2 months in, actually a little over, and it's really helped bring me to a good place inside of all this. Just understanding what it is that I have to say and kind of moving out of the fighter realm into just that influencer and almost public speaker. Like
Definitely.
like I said, what do I have to say?
Right.
And really just embracing that. And so, just even in my social media, I've been writing a lot more and just trying to put out a lot of positive energy.
Definitely.
And be a bit of a light for everybody, that's been going through so much hardship.
Yeah, man.
And anyways, the book, it's going to be a little bit of everything. It's mainly going to be like a self-help, motivational style book.
Okay.
My number one goal is just to inspire people and teach through my experience. So there will be a little bit of a biography element to it.
Okay.
Where I share my journey and some stories and things that kind of like the lessons. It's like, I figured this out, and
right.
how I applied it and how it helped me keep going, and basically what led me to becoming, the MMA world champion, my whole journey, through martial arts. But it's for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're into martial arts or not, or if you're an athlete or not. It doesn't matter if there's something in your life that you're passionate about and you're trying to take it all the way. Entrepreneurs, of course, athletes or artists, people like yourself. Someone that's kind of creating their own lane and trying to live their passion and make a difference. Then I think this book will help you and hopefully give you some ideas and make you be a little bit better.
That's amazing.
And so I'm really excited for it. And like I said, just working on that, diving in on that, really helped me get through this time.
Yeah, man.
And it was perfect. Now I got to compete just a couple weeks ago. I just opened my school back up. We are fully open now, fully operational. We're so grateful.
Do you want to tell that location to where it's at?
So anyone in Oklahoma, we're in Oklahoma City on Hefner and May, just a mile from the lake. And in the Quail shopping center. And right, where the laser tag used to be. Maybe you were there when you were a kid.
I definitely was.
And right next to Old School Bagel. It's a beautiful shopping center. But they can find information at okbjj.com. And like I said, we're fully back now. That's kind of a nice thing about being here.
And you have stuff like for all like levels, like from beginner to
no experience required. We start taking kids at 4 years old. We have students from 4 years old all the way to in their 60s.
Wow.
Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Lovato, BJJ, and MMA. Self-defense, everything.
Dope.
That's
amazing.
That's my
man.
family.
That's dope, man. I'll probably wrap this up here in a second, but I would love for, I heard you say a quote to one of our directors about like the type of dedication that it takes to even get to a black belt, and you were talking about the process of that. And I don't know if, do you remember what kind of what I'm talking about? Before I say it, I don't want to ruin it.
I throw out a lot of quotes.
Right, so. So like, he was saying that you were saying the levels that it takes to get to one belt to another, and it takes dedication, and then it takes consistent dedication for anybody that's out there that is going toward like, jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts, but anything, honestly, like, is there like one thing that you live by that you kind of tell yourself every day that can motivate somebody else before we bounce out of here?
Man, I got a lot of those. That's why I got the book coming. So basically, every chapter of my book is going to have
a quote.
Kind of those things. But in jiu-jitsu, one thing that we say is a black belt is a white belt who never quit.
Okay.
There is no difference between a white belt and a black belt in the sense that we're always going to be students.
Yeah.
And we can always get better. There's no finish line.
Yeah.
There's no like, okay, now I'm perfect. I got it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like you said, it comes down to that dedication and really just never quitting.
Yeah.
Like, just don't stop.
That's
just
good.
keep going. Another quote I really like is victory is always possible for the person who refuses to stop fighting. It's the same thing. You just don't stop.
Go.
You just
Yeah.
keep going. You're definitely going to be met with temporary failures.
Right.
Keyword temporary.
Yeah.
The only failure that is forever is the one that makes you quit.
Yeah.
So temporary failures, adversity.
Guy. Yeah.
Look what I went through in that fight camp for the title fight. A lot of adversity.
Yeah.
But every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. And that is another one.
I need to buy this book, man. This is crazy. Yeah.
I didn't understand it at that time.
Right.
But I needed to go through that because of how difficult the fight was going to be.
Yeah.
When I needed the heart and the will the most, I didn't have to find it. It was already there. I had already, had that connection to my purpose, my why. And so, like I said, the obstacles, the adversity, the temporary failures, you're going to go through all of that. But it's all just to teach you, help you grow stronger, maybe take you down a different path than what you expected, but there's even more greatness waiting for you there, a way to make an even bigger impact,
Dang, man.
So you have to be adaptable, No one expected COVID to hit, right? No one expected this quarantine and pandemic, but through this time, I adapted, and now I've started another project, and I really believe, it was meant to be, right? It was all meant to be. So, bottom line, don't quit. Keep learning, keep growing. Make sure you know your why. Yeah. And try to make as big of a difference as you can.
Bro, you need to be on every week or something, bro. I really appreciate you coming through, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, definitely, man. Lovato, Rafael Lovato Jr. Tell them your tag from Instagram. Maybe they can follow you real quick.
So at Lovato, which is just like Demi. We're not related. Right. But spelled exactly the same. Yeah. She does do jiu-jitsu, so maybe there's something to that. Maybe
bro, have her come to your gym. That would be awesome.
I need to show her Lovato jiu-jitsu. Show Demi Lovato
the
jiu-jitsu.
real stuff. Yeah. That's what's up.
But yeah, so Lovato, Lovato JRBJJ.
Okay.
That's my Instagram handle. You can find me on Facebook as well. Yeah. Twitter, everywhere. Follow
this man on anything and everything. Just the time that I've been following him has just been super inspiring, from, the building that you just got, and then, winning these 2 titles and stuff like that, and then being on the Joe Rogan. Like, you're just an inspiring dude all around, man. So we appreciate you and what you do for the community. And
you as well, man. You as well. We're gonna do more stuff together.
Perfect. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So be sure to follow him. And then once again, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the GNWY podcast. We'll see you next time.